But yeah, it's not until kind of when I wake up in intensive care and just can't move and kind of told that you survived, he's still alive, which obviously was amazing because I've kind of seen her and seeing the injury that she'd, not many people survived that when if you can imagine like a bullet going straight through your head, out of one, through your temple. Nobody survived that, but she survived it. So that was good. And then it was just like, it's a terrorist attack. And yeah, like literally when you're ready, the police want to talk. And
so were you aware when you've woken up, I've been blown up? You know that straight away?
Yeah. Well, I say I'm intact, you know what I mean? Because you remember going back to saying, I've got my arms, I've got my legs. Obviously, I do.
This episode of the podcast is kindly sponsored by Feel Supreme. Feel Supreme have been sponsoring the podcast for a number of weeks now. They're an incredible company. They've got the most diverse range of supplements. I've got some here, the CBD, which I've been taking, which is brilliant. The mushroom extract as well, which I've been taking once a day. They've got vitamin D3, vitamin C, a huge range of different health supplements, and you can get 10% off if you go to the code below, go to the link below, which is feelsupreme.co.uk/legit, and you get 10% off by clicking through and going through their website through that link below. Please support them. They've been a huge support of the podcast. They've got the most incredible products that I take daily, myself and Andy take daily as well. So anything you can do to support them ultimately supports us. Everything, CBD, vitamin D3, vitamin C, which is obviously vitamin D3 massive at the moment, and vitamin C obviously really important for immune support. So go to the link below, click through, and you'll get 10% off your order. It's the Leg It Podcast with myself, Tom Wickstead.
It's me, Andy Grant, and this week we have Martin Hibbert.
Thank you so much, mate.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
There you go.
Thank you so much for your time as well.
No problem, anytime. Well, honestly, honoured to be here. Like I say, I've just given him a big head. Like I'm saying, I've been following him for a couple of years since I think he was on TV doing a documentary. So
I think it was 2017. I think that was, mate. Yeah. So it's funny how life works out. Our paths now crossed.
Yeah.
So you've been all over TV recently. I feel I've seen your face loads on telly, and funny enough, one of our supporters mentioned you and said you'd be a great guest to get on. Brilliant. So reached out to you, and here you are. So
really, really pleased to be here.
All the way from sunny Chorley as well. So.
And it was today, actually. So less of the funny ones.
Mate, I've been really, really looking forward ever since Andy mentioned you I think it was last week, wasn't it? Been really, really looking forward to this conversation because, I mean, there's very, very few. I mean, without darkening there's very few. I've never met anyone who's been involved in a terrorist attack, which is incredibly rare in itself.
When you look at it, actually, survivors, it's rare. You know what I mean? And it's even like with the arena attack, not many people in the city room are here to speak about it. So that's why hopefully I don't go over the top with it, but I do kind of pick and choose. But I think it's right to talk about it. One for my own mental health.
100%.
To keep it out there, especially while the inquiry's on and the inquest, because again, obviously, being in Liverpool with the Hillsborough stuff, I was very, kind of mindful of that, and I wasn't going to allow it to be swept under the carpet. So that's why you've seen I've been quite kind of vocal about stuff, and when things aren't going the right way, or I think something needs to be said, like when the Kerslake report came out, and it was just a total whitewash about what had happened, because I was awake the whole time. So it was like, I was one of the few that saw, as we're dying, I was, I saw it all. So don't try and tell me that police came in and, because I was awake. So I've been very vocal about it. I've set up a survivors group. So as a group now, we're very powerful. And something I'm very proud of.
Mate, why? I think obviously I fucking don't know where to start with this, because it's just a mental story in itself, and what you're doing now as well is just crazy. So you, if we take a step back then, so had you booked these tickets then was it for your daughter then?
Yeah, so kind of going back even further, I mean, and Andy will probably concur as well, like, me growing up, music's always been a big part of my kind of, when I think of memories and stuff, and Andy will probably laugh, but like a Sunday was like cleaning up day, and like Andy would be hoovering, I'd be polishing, and we'd stick like the radio on. So music's always been a...
For anyone's listening, his brother Andy's sitting in this room. People will be thinking,
not me. So music's always been, you know, a big part of my life. You know what I mean? I had a good education in music. Like my mum introduced me to Motown, the Carpenters, the Beatles. You know what I mean? And you know, that's kind of what I was brought up on. So music for me, you know, even now, you know, gets me through bad days, good days. You know, I can listen to a song and be taken back to when I was 5.
It's insane how that works.
When I was getting married, some music, and I wanted Eve to have that.
Yeah.
So I was I kind of did the same thing to her. So like the 60s, Motown. I was a big Michael Jackson fan, unfortunately. But I wanted her to kind of feel music. You know what I mean? Like, not listen to it, feel it. And that's kind of the education that I had with music. You don't listen to it, you feel it.
Yeah.
Sorry to go a bit kind of deep with it, but that's that's what I wanted Eve to, you know, it doesn't matter if they swear or you hear something that you shouldn't, as long as you're not repeating it, but just feel what they're saying and why they're saying it, and the song will become so much, it won't just be a song, it'll be a story, it'll be an experience, it'll be something that's happened to them in life. And I think when you listen to music after having that, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah, mate, it's
and I wanted Eve, my daughter, to have that, so we did the same thing with her. And yeah, again, very musically, you know, whenever we're in the car, CDs, she was singing all the time, doing videos, you know, on YouTube, you know what I mean? Very creative. And I loved that. I loved it because I think that's what music can do to you. And then obviously when she became old enough and obviously fancied boys and stuff, it was like doing the gigs and the concerts, which again is something that I loved. You know, I love live music. So again, having that daddy and daughter time was very special.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I split up with the mum, you know, that the music then became kind of what we did when we were together. So God knows how many JLS concerts and One Direction and kind of, you know what I mean? It was just, but, you know, it was just what we did, and it was music, and it was just great. So in my role as a football agent, and obviously a lot of contacts, and one of my contacts had a box at the arena. So if I ever went to the arena, if my clients wanted tickets, we'd get this box. It was right next to the stage. You got parking, and I thought for Eve, having a first grown-up concert, which the Ariana Grande concert was anyway, because all the others were like, you know, JLS, you know, like kind of poppy groups. This was like the first kind of, in a way, like adult. Yeah. Kind of where she felt she was becoming like her, even though she was only 14, she was kind of making that step into kind of turning 15, 16. So I got her these VIP tickets. She always said, like, you know, if Ariana Grande comes, we've got to go. So we've been talking about it for 2 years before. And then lo and behold, she came over one weekend and said, Ariana Grande's coming. And it was like, right, done.
Call him.
Done.
Some favour to call in that, by the way. VIP boxes.
But what I didn't tell her is that I'd got her the VIP box. So it was like, you know, we're going to proper, you know, just treat her like a princess, which, you know, she was. She still is. So yeah, unfortunately, it was a surprise gift for Christmas. And one of the things that I kind of, when I think about it now, and like with the trial and stuff, you know, as I was giving Eve those tickets, they'd already made the decision that concert was going to be the one. So it kind of takes away that really special moment when she opened. I'd got her a Ariana Grande calendar, and I'd circled the date, and I'd got this T-shirt under my jumper, and it said Ariana Grande is my wife, and kind of flicked that off, and she was like, "Oh my God!" So as we were doing all that, they were planning to.
So they had already considered that
9 months before. Yeah.
Jesus.
Has that tarnished the memories then of the kind of giving? Oh, you know.
It's not
picking the presents and giving it to them.
But it's just that.
Because I think I didn't know that. I think that's quite. There's one thing being in the instant and that's it. But then there's another thing, knowing that while you're enjoying this moment of giving your daughter a present, there are people there who've got that date ring fenced and thinking that's a weird one, isn't it?
You'll probably, you've experienced it. It was your day job, weren't it? You had people trying to shoot you and kill you. You know what I mean? So you can probably get your head round it probably a bit more. I don't know, and it's probably weird when I say it, I don't know if I will ever get my head round it, but in a weird way, I don't know if I want to, because actually that's what drives me, and that's why I think, and I say it, I think that's why I'm still here now. You know what I mean? It was like there was no way I was going to die on a cold concrete floor. You know what I mean? And my wife calls it, I'm stubborn, I'm a stubborn git. You know what I mean? It's like, well, do you know what? That probably helped me survive, because I knew I was dying. You know what I mean? And I could feel my body shutting down, but it was just like, literally, like, no, do not go to sleep. Because if you go to sleep, that's it. You know what I mean? So you will, and I can even think about it now. It was literally like, if you've ever had jet lag, where you just like, it was like that, almost fighting to kind of, and at the same time watching my daughter die in front of my eyes and talking to her to kind of, look, please stay with me, breathe. Just, I know you can hear me, just stay with me. But at the time, like, there was I was losing a lot of blood, and obviously you can imagine the pandemonium and just everything that was going on at the time. So I don't know if I do want to get my head around it. I don't mind talking about it and sharing the experience, because I think, like I say, it does inspire, it does motivate. So I think, like I said in the interview last week, I want good to come out of that bad night, which is what the terrorists do. They don't want me sat here today telling you about all the good things in my life. They want me sat in a corner crying. That's what they want to do. They want to take away your life. Well, actually, they've made me stronger. So they've failed, and that's how I see it. They've actually made me bigger and stronger than I ever was. So they failed. They don't want me. When I think about what I've done over the last 4 years, I've been in like television and newspapers all over the world, telling everybody about my story, that I'm still alive, and the messages of support that I get. You know what I mean? The terrorists don't want that. They must look at it and go, oh, bloody hell, how is he doing this? Do you know what I mean? So they failed, and that's why I love doing these, because because they'll be listening. Bad people around the world will be listening. So it's like, you failed. A bit like Liverpool. If you're gonna divide a city, you chose the wrong city. Yeah. A bit like if they did it in Liverpool. You can't divide Liverpool and you can't divide Manchester. You make it stronger. And as we saw, I mean, I obviously saw it a few weeks later, but the outpouring of support and love wasn't just in Manchester. It was the whole world. I mean, we were getting messages and letters and cards from like all over the world.
Insane.
What was my room like at the hospital? It was just like literally. Like I put a thing out on Facebook saying, like, if any visitors are coming, will you bring sweets? Literally, it was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Like, honestly, it was like literally people I didn't know were just sending in like they must have been going cash and carry and just getting, like, nurses were coming in. What's this? Like, I can't help it. It was just, honestly, it was just, and it was, it was just what I needed. You know what I mean? And at that time, I'd not been told, obviously, how serious I'd been injured, but I knew something wasn't right. And then, obviously, it came that day where I think my wife had said, we need to tell him now. I think he's twigging that something's not right.
Yeah.
Because I was like asking questions and I was getting like fobbed off by like my wife and my mum.
You seem to remember the whole instant perfect. I mean, do you remember the lead up to the day, getting there to the arena, everything?
Yeah. Driving in the car to the stadium, parking.
Yeah.
What point was it then?
I can remember literally seconds before the bomb goes off. I remember the bomb going off. And
so had the concert started then? Or are you queuing up? At what point?
It finished, yeah. It was because people forget, it was actually Monday night.
I know, it's one of those things, obviously you remember it, but I can't remember it
was a Monday night, and Eve was doing a mocks, and we knew from concerts, especially Americans, sorry if there's any Americans listening, like they're never on time. So I think the concert was due to start at 8, but I was like, it'll start at 9, so it's going to be midnight before we get home. So the decision was always to leave during the encore.
Right.
just so that we could beat the rush. I don't know if you've been to the arena, but whoever thought of where to... Let's place an arena in the worst place in Manchester where there's literally one road in and one road out. You know what I mean? So if you don't time it right, you can be stuck in that car park for an hour getting out. And I didn't want that. I didn't want Eve's mum kind of so we just said, look, whilst the encore's on, we'll do a runner, get in the car and get off. And actually, that's probably saved our lives, because I think if we'd have been walking, we'd have been literally next to him when it went off. And so,
right, so you go, obviously, the encore. What time does the encore?
We left at about, I think the bomb went off at 10:32, so we literally, probably just after past, and then we were running through the city with my police liaison officer. As we come out the door, I brushed shoulders with Salman Abedi.
Did you really? No shit.
Yeah, and I don't remember that, because obviously I was, but yeah, the police liaison said literally we brushed shoulders with him as we were coming out. And then we were 10 metres away when he detonated, and we were, you'll understand this better when I say it, people don't understand, but we were 2 feet out of the blast zone. So they say normally anyone in the blast zone dies, so we were 2 feet out of that, and we were 10 metres from, and this is the bit where kind of somebody, I shouldn't be sat here today, and you'll probably understand it a bit more, especially what was in the bomb and how fast the shrapnel was travelling. There were people 40 metres away with 1 injury that died, yet there's me 10 metres away with 22 injuries. One that should have decapitated me, like in full. It went through my neck, severed 2 of my main arteries, and I swallowed it. And they were travelling at over 100 mile an hour. Like they couldn't. The surgeons couldn't understand the X-ray picture that you saw. They couldn't understand how this one had got in my stomach, because obviously I had holes all over my body. So they ended up ripping me up and pulling everything out. They couldn't find any holes, so they were like, "Where's it? How has it got in?" And then they did a thing of my neck, and they saw that it had hit my neck, severed 2 arteries. That's where all the blood loss came from. And then it had gone through my esophagus and I'd swallowed it.
Jesus.
So as you mentioned before, you were kind of running with your daughter past them, and then he's, a second or 2 later, it's gone off.
So I've got my back to it, which is obviously where I've taken the impact. And I just hear literally a God almighty explosion, to the point where, and I say it, and I don't know if it makes sense out of Bolton, but like singing ears. When you come out of a concert, you've got like singing ears. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Almost like when you see like war films and a bomb goes off and it's like a high pitch, and it's like that. It was like that, like very disorientated. But again, going back to when I was 6, who dares wins, military history, and I knew something bad had happened. Obviously, I didn't realise I'd been hit, but I knew it was a bomb. And then obviously the next thing I know, I'm kind of lying down, like blood pouring out of me. Eve's in front of me, she's taken a nasty head injury. I see legs and arms around me. So the first thing I actually do is check that I'm intact, because I think that the legs and arms are mine. So I thankfully see that I'm intact, but know that I'm losing a lot of blood, and know again from being a geek with stuff like that I haven't got long to live.
And your first thought as a father then is, obviously you check yourself and then you fucking straight look to see where Eve is.
Yeah, and you know what? That a lot of people say, "Oh well, what was going on at the time? What can you remember?" And it was like, look, Eve was dying in front of me. I could see a bolt went straight through her brain. And to see that, Andy might have seen it. I don't know. It's not something that you want to see as a dad. And all that's going through my mind is, right, you're dying, you're not going to make it, but what you've got to ensure is that Eve gets out and is in an ambulance, so hopefully she survives. And that is literally what keeps me going for that hour before we kind of stretch it out. And it's just that kind of like Chris, who's the MEN, and when I say MEN, I mean the Manchester Evening News Arena, what it was called at the time. It was a steward that was stemming the blood flow out of my neck, and he was just kind of saying, "Look, stay with me. What's your name? Where do you live? Just just so that I stay awake. And at one point, I say to Chris, I'm not going to make it. So you tell my wife I love her, and that I did what I could. And he was just like, no, you stay with me. You can do it. You can make it. And then, thankfully, the paramedics turn up and they want to take me first because I'm alive. Because I think they think Eve's on, which she was. She was. At one point they put a blanket over her because they thought she was dead. But thankfully, because I was alive, I could say, look, she's still alive. So that's why I get angry as well. Because if I'd have lost consciousness, or if I'd have been,
they'd have thought
she wouldn't be here.
When the bomb's gone off and stuff, are you feeling any pain straight away?
No, and that's another thing. Like people look at, and obviously you've seen the picture, and the surgeon said my injuries were like being shot at point blank range 22 times. So for them to not hit any vital organs, and to just somebody was definitely looking over us. But that's the thing. It was like I was very, very calm. I was dying. You know what I mean? So I think your body goes into shock, doesn't it? I would imagine. So I wasn't in any pain. I wasn't panicking. And I think that gives, like when I spoke to my mum about it, I think that gave her got a bit of relief, and probably Andy, my other brother Danny. Because I think Danny, my other brother, thought I was like in a lot of pain, and I wasn't in any pain. Wasn't in any pain, and like if you think like I didn't have, like when I got to the hospital, I hardly had any blood in my body. They were pumping saline solution to keep me alive in the ambulance. And I've since met up with the paramedic that kept me going, and he said we didn't expect you to survive the journey to Salford Royal, which were like 10 minutes.
You know what I think's the scary thing for me is when I know what it's like to be in those situations. When I've been blown up, I know the procedures there, that if there's an injury, because I've been part of casualty evacuations, I know that as soon as the bomb goes off, the sergeant is doing a 9-liner, the sergeant major, they're going in all round the fence, making sure nothing else happens. You've got a helicopter getting mustered, it's on its way. I know all these things, so although I'm going through the experience of being blown up, I know in the back of my head the lads know what they're doing. For you, you're just a civilian with his daughter at a music concert. Yeah. You've not got an idea what the fuck's going on, what's going to happen next, how long it's going to be. I knew 40 minutes there's a helicopter going to be there. Yeah. That for me is the startling bit. I think.
And like I say, I wasn't. It's really weird when I think back. Like literally, it was just you've got to stay alive long enough to get Eve out. That's your job now. Like you're not going to make it. You're going to die. But you've got to make sure that Eve gets out, and hopefully she has a chance, and that she gets paramedic and she gets to hospital and she survives. Because again, seeing that injury, I knew looking at her, she was in a bad way. You know what I mean? And again, I won't talk about it on here, but to see that, you know what I mean? It was, that's what it still keeps me awake. When I'm having a PTSD attack, or I'm having a bad day, which they still happen.
Mate, I've just become a father. Like I've got a daughter now, 4-month-old. Like my whole thing has changed about. Like it just as soon as you have
that's all you're bothered about.
That's all you're asked about, yeah. And to if you'd have come here before I had a daughter, I wouldn't be. Of course, would be. But there's another switch. There's a fucking another switch that goes in your head.
I don't think it's anything special that I've done. I think, like as you just rightly said, I think when you become a dad, you do it. Just everything that you lived for before suddenly changes when he or she comes. You know what I mean? That's literally that's what you live for. You'll die for. You know what I mean? I kind of made that. Look, you're not going to survive, but as a dad, you've got to make sure that your daughter survives, and that's what kept me alive.
So there was a big thing I remember, and obviously you've been part of this, obviously more than I've, but there was a big thing about paramedics from not being allowed in at the start, wasn't there? Because they were worried that there was another. I think they'd put in this process that if something happens, then we need to find out exactly what it is first, and then paramedics can go in. So, how long were you waiting then for?
Well, that's what we're finding out at the minute. Obviously, with the inquiry that's going on at the minute, and it's just a real. I don't know if I can swear on.
Oh yeah, of course you can.
If ever there was if you look up, the word "fuck up" in the dictionary, it'll say "see Arena bomb 2017," because literally, police, fire.
In what way?
Well, in every way, shape or form. Just again, like if we end up talking, we'll just end up talking about that for 4 hours, because it's just literally, you know, if there's one thing you do after this interview, just look at like what didn't happen and what should have happened. It's just, honestly, it's just, that's what I will never forgive is, you know, yes, I've survived, but, you know, even on the night, it could have been stopped.
Yeah, so there was a security guard, wasn't there?
The security, you know, the Greater Manchester Police,
MI5,
SMG, the arena owners, Shawsec, the security at the arena, Northwest Ambulance, the fire brigade didn't turn up for 3 hours. On it, like literally nothing was, you know,
just a combination. It's like they say with airline crash. It's like it's a combination of things.
It's a complete and utter fuck up. You know what I mean? And you know, that's when the Kerslake report came out, and I was reading it. It was like, I actually looked at the front page because I thought I'd printed off the wrong thing. Because I thought, this isn't what happened. There's nothing in here that is kind of relevant or correct. But what we're hearing now is what happened, and it is, and no wonder they didn't want to put it in, because it is just literally from, you know, hearing from like policemen that have been, you know, high in the police for 30 years. I didn't bother ringing the fire brigade because I didn't think they'd be able to do anything. It was like, really? You know what I mean? And, you know, ambulance, paramedics not being able to come in for 45 minutes. So literally people running in with a first aid pack with plasters. You know what I mean? There's people's arms and legs blown off and bleeding to death, and they've got first aid kits. You know, they didn't have tourniquets. You know, we've heard in the inquiry that 2 of the people that died, Safi and John, could have survived if paramedics had got in quicker and done what they should have done.
So why weren't paramedics allowed in for that reason? That they were worried that...
This is what we're getting to now. It's because of the, and again, Andy will probably know this, when they thought it was a marauding terrorist, so because of that they went into this Operation Plateau. So because of that, they basically you don't let anybody in. And I think but they probably shouldn't have done that. So it's all.
Can you not talk like? Because is it still on?
Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah.
Just while stuff's going on, but it literally, you know, when the inquiry started, and it's just like hearing all these things where, you know, you had members of the public saying because bearing in mind this guy that blowed himself up. He was sat in there he was going in there from 8:30, like 2 hours. And members of the public were going up saying, look, there's a really dodgy chap sat up there. They didn't do anything about it. And then people on the CCTV, you know, he was doing reconnaissance missions days before. You know what I mean? Literally right in front of the camera, doing things that somebody in that position should have known with the training. Just didn't.
Yeah.
Just didn't, you know.
Wasn't there an 18-year-old security guard who was worried, who saw him, but was worried that if he said something, it'd be considered
like
racist?
The race card, and all that, and you know, and then even like half an hour before he let the bomb off, you know, other members of the public were going up saying, "Look, I don't like this chap up there. He's got a rucksack. He won't take it off." And yeah, nothing was done, and then literally, but before that. It was like it'd shown up on the MI5 database, and they were due to meet about him a week after the bomb. And then if certain departments and people would have done what they should have done, they'd have caught him, you know, months before. You know, he was flying to Libya, and you know what I mean. He was visiting non-terrorists in Liverpool prison. Nobody thought to. Why are you doing that? So again, there's just so many failures. So that's what I'm talking about. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, if they'd done something about him visiting Liverpool prison, that wouldn't have stopped. You know, it might not have done, but with everything else, it would have getting him then would have then you'd have seen everything else he was doing.
Build this profile.
All the rental properties it was doing, where he was storing chemicals. You know, the flights over to Libya, his connection with his father who fought for the Gaddafi regime. Visiting a non-terrorist in Liverpool prison, all these things that he was doing, you know, they definitely would have stopped. I think.
You know, your obviously bitterness, your anger towards all this, which is totally understandable. To be devil's advocate at the moment, for a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
When the bomb goes off, obviously it's designed to just cause chaos and damage. Have you got bitterness then towards the kind of the recovery element of it? As in, you believe you think things could have been done better there, or
Definitely, and obviously that's coming out obviously in the inquiry now, and we probably won't know until we get the report in May. But you know, the departments and police and they've all come out and said, look, you know, we didn't do what we should have done. We should have done things differently.
Because I always think, just again, with my military hat on, you kind of know what to do. I mean,
it's hard to, you know what I mean? It's hard to, when somebody, and that's one of the questions, you know, would the Shawset guy going, seeing him at 9:30, would that have stopped him detonating the bomb? No, it probably wouldn't have done, but it would have stopped it happening at 10:30 when there was 200 people in there. So the bomb would still have gone off, but there might have been 2 people that died, not, you know what I mean? So no, I don't have any, I'm not angry about it. I don't think I'm bitter about it. I just want to know the truth. And I want to know if there have been failures. I want to know why there were failures and how that happened. I don't want it to be, oh, well, there's not enough cash and we haven't got enough bobbies on the beat. You know what I mean? I don't want to know that. Do you know what I mean? I want to know why.
My dad used to say, he's a fireman, my dad, for 30 years, and he used to say, you know, they do terrorist training exercises and stuff, and he'd go, if there's ever an attack here, we're fucked. Because like he'd say, like, you know, but
it's things like there were no stretchers at the MAN Arena.
Didn't they use the
I was brought out on an advertising board.
Yeah, I think sometimes there is, and hopefully it comes out in the report and changes do get made. I do think there is an air of this will never happen though, so fuck it.
No, like, I think it is that. You know, they're not going to do that. But we saw, obviously, I mean, again, it wasn't long ago when there was the Centennial Square bomb in whenever it was, 96. You know what I mean? Which, again, you know, caught us by surprise, but thankfully we'd got enough warning.
You know, when you're saying then about, so when, you know, paramedics, etc., and help does start to come, are you kind of aware of what's going on around you, or is it just you and your daughter and you focus on staying alive?
That's all, yeah, I'm just, obviously, at that time, I'm just glad that I know that help's here. And then the paramedics tried taking me, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to make it. Just please take my daughter. So I see her going out, and then that's when I kind of just give up, and that's when curtains come down. I just kind of, that's my job done.
And when you say curtains come down, then, as in you
that's it. Yeah, it was kind of, I know I talked about it before, but it was literally like hanging on. You know what I mean? It was just like literally, I couldn't do it any longer. I'd spent,
you stayed out until your daughter went, and then that was it. Literally
45 minutes. Literally just making peace with myself, almost an acceptance to the situation. You're going to die. I'd said to Chris, who was obviously looking after me, like, you know, tell my wife I love her, you know, and that was it. It was just literally just making peace with myself and like an acceptance to this is it. Eve had got out, so that I was hopeful that, you know, she would survive. She'd get to hospital, and that's it, job done. And then that's where my body gives up.
It's funny how your body kind of give up the second, well, when, you know, your daughter was, when I remember similar, you know, experience of trying to stay awake, and then once the helicopter come in for me, I was like, right, I can relax a bit now.
Which is probably the most dangerous part, because then you shouldn't.
Well, that was it. And obviously I've met up with a paramedic that took me from the arena to Salford Royal. And he said, you know, you're in a bad way. We didn't think you were. He said initially you were going to go to Wythenshawe, which was 45 minutes, but he actually went above his boss's head and took me to Salford Royal, just because he said you won't survive. We don't think he's going to survive the journey to Salford Royal. And then
What's the next memory you have then?
It's about 2 or 3 weeks later, kind of coming round, and my wife showing me a personal message from David Beckham.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Chris and his missus sorted it out. So I had messages from like Beckham, Sir Alex, Gary Neville, Giggs. So yeah, that's the first memory of. I can remember. Yeah, I can remember Andy and my dad telling me United had won Europa League, because that was like a couple of days after. Would beat Ajax 2-0. So I remember that. I don't remember seeing anything. I can just remember people like talking to me. because I'd had like a couple of big, like 14-hour operation and stuff, so it was a bit touch and go for first couple of days. But yeah, it's not until kind of when I wake up in intensive care and I just can't move and kind of told that you survived, he's still alive, which obviously was amazing because I've kind of seen her and seeing the injury that she'd, not many people survive that when if you can imagine like a bullet going straight through your head, through your temple. Nobody survived that, but she survived it. So that was good. And then it was just like, it's a terrorist attack. And yeah, like literally when you're ready, the police want to talk. And
so, are you aware when you've woken up, I've been blown up? You know that straight away.
Yeah. Well, I say I'm intact. You know what I mean? Because you remember going back to think, I've got my arms, I've got my legs. Obviously, I didn't realise I'd suffered obviously, I can see, like I can't move my left arm and my hand because the bolt's gone straight through. Which you just said, like got 22 shrapnel wounds. You've had 14-hour life-saving operation, and it's just about kind of recovery now. So that was it. But I kind of knew, I was kind of asking, you know what I mean? I couldn't. One of the things I remember was my wife bringing in a list of people, and I remember saying to her, "Is this like for my funeral?" And she's like, "What are you on about?" Because I'm dying, aren't I? Like that's kind of where my mind, because I wasn't getting the answers. I knew something wasn't right. And I think that's when Gabby had said, "Look, I can't lie to him anymore."
So, had you tried moving your legs and that said why?
No, because I couldn't move. I think I was on a lot of drugs at the time as well. I've got a lot of friends that came to visit me, and they said I'm talking to them like I am with you now. I haven't got any memory of it at all. No. And then the first real memory is Gabby and my mum walking in, and then two doctors in white coats coming in, and it's like, right, here we go. And then that's when they say, suffered a T10 complete spinal cord injury. Because I'd followed the Paralympics, I kind of knew T10, that's not good. As we said, it's a complete sever of the spinal cord. So a bolt had severed the spinal cord and lodged in my spinal canal. And they just said, basically, Mr. Saxena, a wonderful, beautiful man at Salford Royal, who'd already done a 12-hour shift. He was driving home when he heard what had happened and drove straight back and operated on me for 14 hours.
Jesus.
They're like the proper heroes that you just think like, wow.
And I meet up with him and we have breakfast, and he's just amazed by kind of what I'm doing. And he just said, like, I wish all patients were like you. He just said, like, he said his memory of me is like, and I don't remember it, but he said literally whenever any staff walked into my room, he said you had a big smile on your face and you were always more bothered about us, like the doctors and the nurses. And it's like, we were looking after you, but your thing was, how are you? No, how are you? You know what I mean? And he said, like, just never seen it like that,
And are you wake up and then obviously I imagine straight away you think about your daughter Eve.
Yeah.
Are you around other people who are also involved in this attack, or was it?
And again, I don't have a lot of memory from this. It's like my wife and my brothers, and because
2 or 3 next door.
Right, yeah, 2 or 3 next door.
Because I was having a real bad time with PTSD, so like doors and stuff, I'd be like jumping, and I was actually biting through the breathing tubes.
So it had an impact. That's insane how the mind works. That it knows that something's up.
They were saying even when I was in intensive care, like as they do, like when a door slams by accident, and I'd shut, and it still happens now sometimes. Like if there's a thing, and I'll get all like sweaty and stuff. So they're kind of like the early memories, and then kind of being told. You complete a T10 complete spinal cord injury, paralysed from the belly button down, not going to walk again. And then obviously you're thinking, right, well, that's it. Like, kind of life's gone. Do you know what I mean? And then it was and this is the bit that I think I probably asked the most. You know what I mean? It was to go through what I did at the arena and to kind of go through that. Right, you're dying. You're not going to be around. Make sure Eve gets out. Come to terms with it. Make peace with yourself. Get a message back home that you love everybody. To go through that and then wake up 2 or 3 weeks later and be alive. That's why I'm happy. I smile because I'm alive. You know what I mean? And people can't get their heads around it. I get lost. How are you so happy, Martin? And you just go about it and nothing stands in your way, and you're just going about and he's like, well, because I'm alive. You know what I mean? For an hour on that night, I was dying. Yet here I am. So actually, I'll take it. Do you know what I mean? Because there's 22 families that would take that tomorrow, where they weren't so lucky. So I'm not saying, and you're probably the same as well, I still have bad days, don't get me wrong, and when I have a shit day, like, nobody comes near me. Do you know what I mean? But we know what they look like now. We know how to deal with it. We know what I need to do to get over it. You know what I mean? But the important thing is to have those days and not to keep it in. Mm-hmm. And that's why when I'm doing the motivational talking, I talk about mental health because I'm not on any medication now. I've come off everything. So I've been medication free now for 12 months, all my mental health stuff, because I feel that I'm in a space now where I can deal with it. So that's probably my biggest thing that I'm proud of. The battle with mental health, I won't wish upon anyone. I still fight that every day, and that'll be a fight that I do until I leave this planet.
I find that interesting as well, that you're going through the recovery process without kind of as well knowing other survivors as well, because for me that was a massive help, both physically and mentally, to be around other injured soldiers.
Yeah, and that was it, because it's like, I didn't have, and this is another thing that people are baffled by, I didn't have any psychotherapy. I didn't have anybody sitting with me, and because I thought, nobody, unless I'm speaking to somebody in Aunt Middleton or like Andy or somebody that knows what I've been through, they're not going to understand. There's no point talking about it because nobody can understand what I've been through unless they've been through it themselves. So I didn't have any counsellor or anything like that. But actually, kind of when I set up the survivors group and we got people around for coffee and stuff just to talk through, that was very cathartic. And
how do you even go about setting up? How does that even work? Setting up a survivors group?
It's been 3 years of my life. It's just literally, obviously social media and stuff helps, and one, another. But again, because I was very vocal and obviously I met a lot of the deceased families, it was almost like a community to start with. So it wasn't very hard. But again, whereas I can talk about it, a lot of them can't. A lot of them haven't even been back into Manchester.
Really? It's that bad, yeah?
There was me, 3 months. I even went AWOL from the spinal unit to go to the reopening of the arena because I thought, there's no way I'm missing that. I want to show everybody, the terrorists, you ain't keeping me down. So I probably shouldn't have gone, but there was no way I was going to miss that. So again, in the same box that me and Eve were in.
You I don't know, has anything happened previous in your life to kind of make you determined, resilient, do you think?
No, people have asked me that, and I think it's just the way I've been brought up. Shit's going to happen in life, and there's two ways of looking at it. You cry and mope about it in corner, or you get up and do something about it. And I've always done the latter, whether it's in personal or business. I've always been successful in whatever I do because of that. Because when shit hits the fan, some people go, "Oh, fucking hell!" I go, "Right, there's an opportunity here." No, and that's just the way that I've been programmed and built.
Yeah. What were you kind of like then when, like you say, you set up the survivors group and not everyone is kind of obviously
that's tough because especially during the inquiry, it's been tough because obviously we get a lot of messages and a lot of emails and stuff, and you've got to deal with it. So you kind of you're putting your arm around people, and sometimes you need a cuddle. You know what I mean? So that it's hard. And just before Christmas, I had to come off social media because like the inquest and so it just got into my head. So I just had a break over Christmas, came off social media, and literally I didn't pick up my phone for like 2 weeks. And it was great to have that. So because I knew back in, like when we started back up in January that it'd be full on again, and my legal team has said there's going to be some really like distressing stuff, so get ready for it. You know, some of the stuff that's going to come out, and so I think it's just, you know, if I don't do it, nobody is going to do it. And like obviously Liverpool and the Hillsborough thing was just in my mind that, you know, this might be a 20-year kind of battle to get to the truth, you know. And now me on my own as a survivor going, well, that didn't happen, and it's like, yeah, whatever. As a group of 60, we're you know, very powerful.
Yeah, totally. You know, you've got that battle that you know that's on the horizon, this kind of inquest and stuff like that. How are you getting your head around the physical of your, you know, being paralysed? How are you getting your head around?
Do you know what? And again, I'm on a spinal cord forum, and you know, there's people that have been injured for 20 years and they've not come to terms with it. I came to terms with it pretty quick, straight up. You know, I got my head around. And again, I think it's, you know what I mean. When you speak to other spinal cord injured people, it's like, you know, they're in a car crash, they're on a bike, you know what I mean. I think, I'm not saying they didn't go through what I went through, but again, I just think it's that, look, you're dying, you're not going to make it. I woke up 3 weeks later, I'm alive, but you haven't got your legs. Well, I'll take that because I'm alive. And that's, I don't know if that's a really rubbish answer, but that's it, I'm alive. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to waste a day, you know what I mean? And I'm still doing everything that I did before, you know, if not more. But actually, what it's done, I call myself Martin Hibbert Mark II now, because I'm a totally different, in terms of, obviously I'm paralysed and stuff now, but in terms of things that would drive me mad or crazy before I was injured, just nothing pisses me off now. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Andy said the same on that.
And it's just, I live, and you know, I say to my missus, you know, we live for today. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so we do what makes us happy today. If I want to spend $5,000 on a watch, I'll do it. You know, my missus says I do it just because I want to buy nice stuff. But it's like, look, you know, like we both had good jobs, and you know what I mean. It was like we'd made all these plans and stuff, and it could have ended that night. You know what I mean? So it's like,
look, mate, there's someone 12 years down the line that doesn't always end well. Just living for the moment. I've got myself in some trouble doing things like that.
Do you know what? And I don't mean like, you know, let's go and put $100,000 on red number 7. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, do things only spend.
No, mate. Listen, I'm backing you, mate. I am the most chilled out person when it comes to It takes a lot to get me wound up and stressed.
And that's it. And I just see it now. Like my purpose now. You know, like hopefully it came across in the GMB interview. You know, I can make a difference for people with spinal cord injuries, and that's been my life for kind of, you know, 3 years now. So I was like really proud when they asked me to be a trustee. So I've been a trustee now for 18 months. You know what I mean? And it's changing the lives of people that aren't as lucky as me, and that just fills me with, you know, real pride, and you know, and that's what keeps me going.
Did you have? Would you say you were, you know, super happy and, you know, fulfilled prior to this? Because I think what you're doing now, you can see when you're talking about it, it's kind of your calling. It's like, I need to fight this.
Do you know what?
Do you think that was missing before?
Yeah, I do, and I had real big struggles with mental health. I was diagnosed with depression in January 2014, and yeah, I'd had some very, very dark moments. You know, but got some treatment with it. But yeah, there was always something missing, and I could never. What am I here for? What am I doing? What's when I'm dead, and what's it going to say on my gravestone? I really struggled with that. Didn't have any purpose, or just.
It's funny, isn't it? Something so awful can happen, but it can actually give you a purpose.
And I do. I say I'm not religious, but I just think that, you know, maybe that's why I was chosen and I survived, because, you know, that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. You know, to go through this experience, because I've got you know, something in me that will turn it into something positive. And I always say, look, if I wanted to sit and mope and cry in a corner, I don't think anyone would have a go at me for doing that.
No.
They say, look, with everything that you've been through, I'll come and cry with you. But the way that I've been brought up, it's just not what I am and just not what I'm about. So in everything, in all bad situations, there's always opportunity. And kind of very, very early on, I think kind of the medics were kind of baffled, because I think they expected me to be kind of effing and jeffing and crying. And it was just like, right, you've got that out of the way. What do we do next? When does physio start? When does rehab start? And they're like, what? Yeah. This isn't right. And even kind of leaving the spinal unit, I've since read my reports and stuff, because we had like one-to-one meetings every week and stuff, and they were like, this guy is like alien, because, just not seeing this, like he's not had a breakdown, he's not, he's coming to terms with everything very quickly, you know what I mean, he's hitting everything out of the park. He's like, we've just not seen this like before. And he's like, yeah, but my daughter was in hospital. I didn't want to be in hospital. I wanted to be at her bedside. So that's why I was hitting everything out of the park. Like,
How was your daughter recovering?
Say that again.
How was your daughter with it?
She was in Manchester Children's Hospital for nearly 10 months. And again, I don't have a lot of memory of it, but I remember when I was at Salford Royal, somebody coming in and saying, look, if she does survive, there's not going to be anything there. She's going to be in a vegetative state. She's not going to see, hear, speak, move, because it's literally taken out the front of her brain. So again, it must be something in our blood, because she can see, she can hear, she can speak. She's back at school. She's stood up. She's doing a bit of walking now. Again, they think she's the only person to survive that injury in the world.
Really?
To the point where they've actually written a paper on her, so that if anybody has that type of injury again, and again, you might be able to, because we found out recently, if she was a soldier, they would have left her, because apparently you don't survive that injury. So again, it's changed the medic's opinion on that type of injury.
Mate, I can't begin to, but like, not only are you battling with your own recovery, but then there's the awful situation of the conversations that happen around whether your daughter will be in a vegetative state, and
no, it's
insane, mate. Honestly,
no, it is, and it's again, we've since I've found out only recently, the coroner was ringing Eve's ward every day because they thought she was going to be number 23. So that's how kind of close it was.
There's so much to wrap your head around, isn't there? There's your injury, your daughter's injury, your rehab for such a horrendous injury, your daughter's rehab for such a horrendous injury, and the fact that it's not maybe that you were driving and you've fell asleep at the wheel or something. It's a terrorist attack. There's the bitterness that comes along with that, and it's national news. It's you probably profile, if you like, because everyone knows you, family, friends. It's a fucking lot of shit to get your head around.
And do you know what? The one thing, it's like when I have guilt for putting us there. I give myself, like when I'm having a bad day, I kind of blame myself for putting us there.
And not the guy who decided to.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing. Like my wife has to almost, like we talk about it all the time. But yeah, it's did I do enough? Did I, is it my fault? Is it did I do the right things? Have I failed in my job as a father? Just really weird. Like talking out loud, it almost sounds like stupid, but yeah, it's just like. Did I fail in my job as a father? Because I always used to say to Eve, like, whenever you're with me, nothing will happen to you. And I think that's what it is. It's like, whenever you're with me, you're protected. Nothing can ever hurt you. And it's almost kind of like, I've said in an interview, it's almost like my kind of cape got ripped a bit. That, you know what I mean? Because it's like that, as a dad, you love and protect, and nothing's going to happen. And it's like, well, I can't say that now, because it has. I let it happen. And I struggle with that, and obviously when I see her and stuff at the weekends, it kind of brings it all back. I mean, she's doing great, don't get me wrong, But
he's kept that strong relationship now.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, that's a daddy daughter thing. When you've got that bond, not even a bomb can break that, you know. And that's what they want to break. But you know, to see what she's doing, you know, it kind of puts my story to bed. You know, it's when she's ready, she'll inspire, you know, the world, and you know, she'll definitely change something. I don't know what. I'll let her find that out. But at the minute, it's just almost creating a bubble for her where all she's bothered about is just, you know, getting it in her head what's happened to her. And because she's 18 now, you know, she's seen all her mates graduate, start driving, and get the first boyfriends, and you know what I mean. Having that injury must be bad enough, but at that age, with everything else that's happening with the body, and you know what I mean. So
how old was she? 15 then when it happened?
She was 14 at
14,
the time.
Yeah. Sorry, 14, yeah.
I think, mate, as well, just from someone who's been through something similar, what you've done, though, I'm not saying you've done it on your own, you've obviously had the experts, doctors, nurses and friends and family, but the big thing for me, what I always say was so easy, was I was surrounded by loads of lads who'd been injured. There was, you know, huge support from the public, and certain military charities were helping out, so it was like, it was easy for me. Do you know what I mean? I think going through something, although the incident at the time was very high profile, it's kind of like, after a couple of weeks, people, as horrible as it sounds, people get on with their lives, don't they?
Yeah.
Whereas the Afghanistan thing was there for everyone to see. It was, the support was all the time, and it was so many of us, you couldn't really ignore it. But get this bombing is.
It was almost, and again, not to put a different light on it, but when I was at the spinal unit, it was almost kind of like you're a VIP. It was like you could hear people, is it? You know what I mean? Like, because obviously in the spinal unit, it was like people, you know, they'd been in a car accident or a bike accident, or one guy who was on a cruise, he'd slipped. You know, a guy had fallen down the stairs. A guy had been shot. You know what I mean? And it was, you know, it was like you go into a room and it's like, so how did you? You know, everyone goes round. Like, so I slipped. You know, I was in a car accident, terrorist attack, Manchester Arena, and nobody knows what to say. Do you know what I mean? It was almost kind of like, I don't want people to ask, because people don't want it, or people know you and they don't want to. They're like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and that hurt a lot. You know what I mean. It was like people recognise me. You know what I mean. And it's again, like after the GMB thing, you know, people recognise you, and you know, saw you on the TV and stuff. But yeah, you know, in the hospital, in the spinal unit, nobody else was injured like me. You know what I mean. So I did feel a bit on my own, and
it takes a lot, mate. Yeah,
you know. Kind of almost like, oh, he's here, you know, you're the guy from the, you know what I mean? It was like a celebrity status in a way. It took me a while to get my head around it.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, I can see why
it was
people,
weird.
Yeah,
almost to the point where I got angry about it. So you know what I mean? Kind of just got fobbed off about it. You know what I mean? Kind of, and just became a bit of a recluse with it. I didn't want to go outside and stuff because I didn't want kind of the. At that time as well, it was like the media were trying to get in my room, and I had to go into a private room because they were pretending to be like doctors and nurses and pretending to be policemen.
Fucking scumbags, aren't they?
Yeah. So I had to go into a private room, and my wife, obviously, she was beside herself, and she had to set up like PIN numbers and passcodes for everybody. It was just, you know, on top of everything else, you had to deal with all that shit. You know what I mean? People trying to get into my room and stuff. So there was all that going on as well. So you know, it was hard enough doing what we were doing, and it was like the world wanted to know, because there weren't a lot of survivors, and not a lot of people wanted to talk about it. So I kind of knew that I'd have to do something. So I did an interview with Claire Fallon at the BBC. Got her over to the spinal unit because I just thought, because they were trying to they were going to like Eve school and trying to tap up like teachers and parents and stuff, and then they were like, my friends were saying they were like going through my LinkedIn and my Facebook and Twitter, and then connecting with like friends and trying to get mobile numbers and stuff. So like my phone was just, honestly, it was ridiculous. Like messages through LinkedIn and Messenger and Twitter, and it was awful. So I knew I'd have to do something because we were very conscious we wanted to keep Eve out of it. So it was almost kind of like, well, if I do it, it takes the pressure off. So I'll kind of be like the shield in a way. So if I do something, and it'll take the pressure off, you know what I mean? So I did that, and they've become like really good friends now, and it obviously helps with like the GMB thing last week, and you know, so BBC, ITV, Sky, Channel 4, Channel 5, got really good contacts, and they become really close friends because of it. Because we built up that trust, but they know never to say about Eve or, you know, mention anything about Eve. They've been very respectful of that. So that's been really good. So I'm glad we did that. And yeah, it's just like literally, you know, it's just talk about it, use it for good. I've done like the motivational speaking network, which I've really enjoyed, and I'd like to do more when I've done Kilimanjaro, because I'll have something different to talk about. So I do see this year in a way of closing the door on it a bit.
And because the inquiry,
with the inquiry
as well, yeah.
I thought, and you might understand this, I thought the trial would have done that. You know, kind of seeing him locked up. But I remember driving home after he'd got that, whatever it was, 5 life sentences.
His brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, the brother, yeah, of course, yeah, sorry.
Hashem. And I remember driving home, like, almost like in tears, because it was like, I still feel the same, like nothing. I thought a key would go in and I'd close the door. And it was like, no, please, like, really? I just thought something had changed after today. And it didn't. So again, like I said before, again, you know, whether that is just, well, if you close the door on it, does that then not give you the motivation to do what you're doing? So again, I'm in that, you know, do it, not, you know, I'll never forget it. It'll be part of my life. But, you know, that kind of, when I go on GMB or when I do things, it's, can we talk about the arena? You know what I mean? And it's like, we can, but it's kind of like, I'm done with it. Do you know what I mean? I think people fed up with it. I mean, I'll talk about it if people want to listen to it. What I'd rather talk about is me surviving, my journey after that, my rehab, what I'm doing for, you know, other people with spinal cord injuries, raising the money that I do for the Spinal Injuries Association, which is a massive charity, well, it's not a massive charity, it's a great charity, something that's really helped me and obviously, you know, allowed me to be here as a person today. You know, that's kind of what I do now. So I kind of, you know, like I keep saying, I use the story for a greater good.
Yeah.
And kind of use it as, look, shit's going to happen. You know, that's life. You know, I'm not saying that you're going to be blown up by a bomb, but you might lose your job or, you know, whatever it is, you know, shit will happen. And it's how you look at it. And I just kind of say, look, you know, there's 2 ways of looking at it. You cry and mope about it and, you know, oh, why does all this shit always happen to me? And, you know, or you can look at, right, it's happened, nothing I can do about it. What do we do now to make the best of the situation? And how do I come out of it with a smile on my face? And that's what I try and kind of preach in a way, that, you know, you can do it. If I can do it, I'm living and working with depression and PTSD. And medication did help, but I'm doing it medication free. You know, I'm not saying that everybody can do that, but it's possible if you've got the right mindset and kind of keep busy and find a you know,
a routine and
that's
and
it.
goals.
So I you know, when I do have downtime, I'm a big film fan. So, you know, watch films. You know, I'd like to say I watch Man United, but, you know, at the minute it's they're just as depressing. But I'm a big football fan. You know, I run my own football agency. Obviously, I'm a trustee at the Spinal Injuries Association. I've got the Survivors Group. So there's, you know, I've written a book. Hopefully, it'll be out next year.
It's so mad, isn't it, how you can go through something like that and someone can just think, I never want to talk about it ever again, and then someone can just take it and run with it and just...
Yeah, and it's a thing of being respectful of it, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's, you know, I'm not one of these, like, talk about it. You've got, you know, it's like, look, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. We'll have a coffee, we'll have a hug. You know, we'll go for a walk. You know what I mean? I've done a couple of Zoom calls with some of the survivors because they're in obviously COVID. You can't hug. You know, sometimes it's just, you just want a hug.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's been tough this last 12 months for the survivors with the inquiry, not being able to go like we did with the trial. That was really good because we're at the trial with other survivors. It was great. We could hold hands. We could talk about it. You felt for the first time that you were in a room where you didn't have to say anything. You knew without saying. You know what I mean?
God, that trial must have been strange, mate.
Oh, no, it was. But it was. We got the result, and that's what it was about. You know what I mean? It was about. Again, you were worried, like when the jury went out, you know, it was like, oh God, what if he gets off? What if they don't believe? Like, what if he gets off? So obviously, when it come out and he got, you know, he's gonna die in prison. You know, there was obviously, you know, some good in that, you know. So yeah, it's been difficult, and obviously COVID's thrown another slant on it. But like I say, I did a couple of Zoom calls, and you know, it's just look when they say, look, you know, just speaking to you, Martin, it's just you're just a ray of light, and just the way that you deal with it. And I get you know, after the GMB thing, like the messages and letters I've had, it's just been like, you know, people that haven't been out for 12 months, but they saw me on GMB and they've taken the first foot outside to, like, you know,
it's insane,
because they're saying like, you know, I thought I'd had a bad day today, Martin, but I've just listened to you and I've gone out and done this. And obviously and you getting in touch was like, you know, that was probably the biggest moment of you know, out of it all, you know. No, I mean, because it's, you know, it's just I don't see myself in that kind of arena, but you have in that thing to, you know, to get in touch and want, you know what I mean? It just means a lot, you know.
I think just kind of your mindset, mate. Of I always think like lads in the military have got a bit of an advantage, and when the shit does happen, it's kind of like not expected, but you've prepared as best you can for it. I think as when you're a civilian, and it's just a different kettle of fish, and what you've done, mate.
And again, obviously, I've not been in the army, but like from age of 6, like literally, you know, anything SAS, Marine, like literally I've watched it and read it, you know what I mean? So in a way, maybe I have had a bit, maybe it has rubbed off, you know, that army mentality, you know, I don't know.
You know, it's interesting talking about things that you were into. The challenges you're setting for yourself now, you said before, you weren't even into them before you got injured.
No.
That's a mad one.
Andy, my brother, will probably tell you I was a bit of a lazy kid. No, I wasn't a lazy kid. It was just, you know what I mean? It was my job, and what I used to run around like a headless chicken. So, you know what I mean? I didn't have to go to gym. You know what I mean? I wasn't ultra fit, but I was, you know, I was one of these that could just turn up and do a 10K and do it in like 50 minutes. You know what I mean? It'd wind people up. It's just the way that I was built. You know, we're all, the Hibberts, we're all slim people. We can eat what we want, and we don't really put a lot of weight on. So we've always been like that. You know, I was always a spectator in sport, probably where Andy's more of my brother. You know, he you know what I mean. It just you know, I was the one with the brains. So it was like I was always interested in like the business side of things. So it was like literally when I saw Uda's wins when I was like 6, 7, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an SAS. So like literally until I fell in love with I took business studies at secondary school. Fell in love with that. You know what I mean? And that's when, like, whenever it was, whenever you take your options, like 14, 15.
Yeah, 14.
And I'd found something that, I found a connection, and it was business and finance. And that's then when kind of everything changed. I wasn't going to go in the army and kind of, you know, do that route. It was, no, business studies. And then did business and finance, went to uni, did business and finance, and then started a career in banking. And did that for nearly 20 years. And then it wasn't until I became a private banker. We looked after all the Premiership footballers in the Northwest. And I was in that world for a number of years, and just kind of felt like being an agent was what I was destined to do. So I was really proud when I set up my own agency in 2015. And I'm now one of the agents in the women's game, so I look after female professional footballers.
We've had an agent on, Stephen Becks, on the podcast.
All right, yeah.
Really, really cracking
Triple
guy.
S.
Triple S,
That's
yeah.
It,
Triple
yeah.
S, yeah.
Yeah. So I was never great at football, but kind of because I looked after footballers and the business side, I was very good at that. And
what makes me laugh though is, when people ask me and they say, listen, I love going to the gym now, I love running, I love climbing mountains. Yeah. I loved all that when I had 2 legs, so I have literally not changed. Yeah. I do everything I do that I used to do. I'm still me, so I don't think I've changed in any way really. Yeah, I've got 1 leg, but I can still do everything just as good.
I think
you have never climbed a mountain, and you want to go and climb Kilimanjaro.
And it's a weird thing. It's like literally, 12 months, literally pretty much to the day I was injured, I was doing the Manchester 10K, and I beat my time when I ran it.
Really?
Yeah. And I did it in a proper Paralympic kind of bike, and a ex-Paralympian helped me train. And even he was saying, like, Martin, you only got out of hospital like 6 months ago. You shouldn't be doing this today. You know what I mean? But it was just that, and almost that kind of sticking 2 fingers up to terrorists. And I think that's what it is. It's not to write my name in record books or to do anything personal. It's just that you're not going to stop me. You've actually made me the worst thing that you know what I mean? Because you wanted to destroy everything, but you've actually made me bigger and stronger, and I'm going to make a change.
And it helps helps yourself as well with your own mental thing.
I did that, and I did it in like 50 minutes. And it was just like I wanted to do it in under an hour, which was a push anyway, because it was like really hot that day. So to do it in like 50 minutes was crazy.
Just give you the bug then for sport and kind of goals.
And then it wasn't until I became a trustee, and I said, like, I want to start a revolution. And like, what do you mean? What do you mean? It's like, we're gonna change. We're gonna make a change. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna start a revolution. I'm gonna get the world like behind me, and we're gonna change how people look at disabled people with spinal cord injuries. And you're like, what do you mean, Martin? You're scaring me. I was like, no, revolution's coming. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna think of something, and we're gonna change the world. And about 18 months ago, I was down at the head office in Milton Keynes, and I went, I know what it is. And Chris went, oh God, what? He says, I'm going to do Mount Everest. He was like, no, you're not. Yeah, I'm going to do Mount Everest, I think. I went, look into it, see if we can do Mount Everest. We'll get to base camp or something, Mount Everest. It'd be amazing. So they looked into it. It was like, mine, can't do it in a wheelchair. You'd have to be carried for 90% of it, and you can only do 10%.
Oh, is that that's the thing? Yeah, even so just to base camp, or
base camp. So I could do it, but it's like, no. If you're going to start a revolution, you can't be carried. It's got to be something I do. It's got to be tough. Something that even an able-bodied person would find it tough. So for somebody in a wheelchair, it's got to be like literally. You've got to have it where an able-bodied person goes, nowhere. And then one of my mates had done Kilimanjaro, and I said, should we do Kilimanjaro? Do you reckon we can do Kilimanjaro? So they went away and they came back and they went, we're on. We can do it. We'd have to go the northern route. 90% accessible. You probably have to be carried for 10. I'm like, right, let's do it. And that's what we've been planning for the last 18 months.
Is you've literally just set your sight on Kilimanjaro?
Yeah, and obviously, like you're like doing the risk assessments and just making sure, because obviously I'm putting my life at risk. You know what I mean? It's
and obviously the team as well. The team as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So obviously having a spinal cord injury, I'm at risk of pressure sores, UTI. Literally, I could die doing this. You know what I mean? So it's got to be, properly risk assessed, and I'm taking like a medical team just in case anything goes Pete Tong.
It's fucking high, isn't it? 19,000 feet, isn't
just
it?
short of 20,000 feet. Yeah. It's going to be minus 30.
What's that in metres?
I'll find out now. No.
It is 5,600 and something metres.
Oh. Have you ever been up high, have you, before? No. Altitude and that?
No. But I'm going to... 65% of able-bodied people, success rate. So I think as a paralysed man in a wheelchair, I bet it's less than 10%. So the odds are stacked against me. But I just think I've been battling odds ever since 22nd of May 2017. I wasn't. The odds of me surviving the car journey to the hospital were next to nothing.
Yeah.
So I just see it, and again, I'm not a cocky person. You know what I mean? I'm not even thinking about Kilimanjaro. I'm just thinking, when I think about it, I'm at the summit and what that's going to do for people with spinal cord injury. So, hey, don't get me wrong, it's going to be like literally hell on earth. It's blood, sweat and tears, probably buckets of each. But I'll do it. I promise you I'll do it. You know
I love it, mate. I love it.
You know what I mean? And we'll get up there.
Some challenge, mate.
No, of course it is. But if I said, look, if I said I was going to do London Marathon, I probably wouldn't be sat here today. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Andy says that all the time. If you're going to do something,
you're a perfect example. I fucking hate people saying they're doing these challenges and it's fuck all.
I'm gonna do a sponsored silence. You'd be like,
you know the worst one is paying people to do sober October. That's a fucking way. I've been asked, I'm not going to drink so much.
Could be.
Would you donate?
Fuck off! Why? Exactly. That's the worst one.
So you know what I mean. If you, I just, you know, if we're gonna do something, you've got to do it where able-bodied people are going respect. You know what I mean?
Massively,
and one of my best mates who's done it twice. First person I rang after my GMB interview because none of my mates knew I was doing it. Literally outside of like the Spinal Injuries Association, my mum, my brothers. In fact, I don't even you knew, did you? I wanted it to be a surprise. You know what I mean? First person I spoke to was Carl that had done it, and he just went, "I don't know how you're going to do it." He says, "I've been up it." I says, "I know what's ahead of you." He said, "And it's hard for me with two legs." Do you know what I mean? But
you know that thing. Have you seen it? It's fucking hilarious. It's like that dark humour that especially at the military have. There's a guy with no legs who climbed Mount Everest, and it's like a meme, and it says, you know, this guy's got no legs. What's your excuse? And someone's commented on Facebook going, he hasn't got legs. Mine would hurt.
Brilliant. So it's just, you know what I mean.
What does the planning process look like then, Martin? So are you like? I mean, I was going to expand. Time-wise, team and organising flights and and obviously, not only obviously is it hard enough, but because you want to raise as much awareness, there's a media thing involved now. You've obviously doing things like this, GMB, you know, all that stuff has to then.
I was hoping I've had a phone call because I was hoping I'd be able to break some news today, but I haven't had the phone call, so I can't tell you today. I know, and I will. I'll come back and do it. But if it happens, then it's going to be amazing.
Oh Jesus!
You know, and I'll say ITV want to do a documentary on it and take a film crew with us. So film me training, doing the climb.
That'd be cool.
But the person that they want to do it with us is just
mega.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Don't tell you.
Yeah. So when I was gagging to get like the phone call because I think they met on Tuesday about it. So I was hoping that we'd have it and we'd be able to like talk about it today.
Regardless, mate, it's super exciting.
Yeah. In terms of the planning, it's almost kind of like you have to plan it kind of backwards in a way. So it was like, right, we have to put the team together. So it's like, right, what we're going to need. So I'm going to need somebody to check my skin. So actually, one of the, which I didn't tell you about, two people that are doing the climb with me. One of them is a nurse from Salford Royal who looked after me in major trauma.
Wow.
So he's coming, which is going to be emotional.
It's going to be super emotional, yeah.
The other guy is Robert Grew, and he was one of the members of the public that ran into the arena. So as everybody was running out, so when people say I'm a superhero, I'm not. It's Rob that was a superhero because I almost kind of see him as a salmon swimming upstream. As everybody was running out, something in him said, you've got to go in and help. And he ran into that city room, not knowing what was going on. And he held people's hands as they were dying. He saved people's lives. And as we've heard in the inquiry, it was a major thing of, you know, helping people on the night.
Incredible.
So he's doing it with us as well.
It's really important for him that as well, I think. You know what I mean?
He won't mind me saying, but he's been struggling with like mental health and stuff. So I hope it's, you know, to do that with those two people who've obviously Stuart's seen me at my worst. So to climb that, you know, and get I kind of class it as kind of crossing the white line, you know, reaching the summit. You know, to do that with those two people, and then one of my best friends is doing it as well. So yeah, it's going to be very emotional. But I'll do it. It's just another thing that I'll get over, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hell on earth.
How long have you planned for it then? How long have you do you think it might take in terms?
So we're doing the northern route, which is less of a gradient, but because of that, it takes a bit longer. It takes we've said seven days up, 3 down, so it'll take 10 days altogether.
Right, bloody hell.
What are you doing training wise?
Oh, what am I not doing? So obviously with COVID at the minute, it's been tough. So it's just literally at the minute just doing cardio, and I've got like a tabletop cycle thing that I'm doing. But once COVID's out of the way, I'm going to the Institute of Health and Performance in Manchester. So they're doing a real high intensity thing for me because they've got an altitude chamber as well,
Cool.
which is going to be really important.
Really helpful, yeah.
Because what I've said is, look, I could be built like a brick shithouse, but actually if altitude hits me, there's nothing you can do about it. So we've got stuff like that. Obviously at Silverstone, Porsche have let us use the Human Body Performance Centre.
I saw that on your Twitter,
which is amazing. So where all the F1 drivers go. So we've said we can use that when we need to.
Williams did something, didn't they?
Williams are
the
charity partner of Spinal Injuries Association, so they've been amazing, and one of their board members is doing the climb as well, Graham Hackland. So they're doing some stuff which is cool. So I'm actually looking forward to it. Like the fitness side and just being kind of ultra fit, and because like being an amputee and stuff, you because I'm in a wheelchair, I'm always trying. You don't realise the energy that you're using and the muscles that you're using. I drive a Range Rover Sport, pulling myself up into that. People in wheelchairs go, "How do you do it, Martin?" It's like, well, I've got the strength to do it. So whilst I'm doing it, I want to drive a nice car. Do you know? I don't want to drive a Ford Focus or whatever else they told me to get. So it's just whilst I've got the mindset and like being in the army, a lot of whatever you do in life, it's about mindset.
Yeah, 100%. All mindset.
You know what I mean? If you tell yourself you're not going to do something, you're going to fail.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? But again, the way that I've been brought up and stuff, there's been countless times where I've thought, God, this isn't going to happen, but it does, just because of your mindset and that will to do it, to achieve. We've seen it. We see it every day across the world about people doing things that you just go, that's not possible. Mm-hmm. They said that about flying to the moon. And it was only through kind of real, putting your life on the line and sheer determination that they did it.
Yeah.
I know it's a.
When is going to be the date then you're hoping to get up there?
So we fly out on end of August and we start on the 1st of September. So
this year, yeah.
Wow.
So it's done. We're doing it. There's no. I've been on Good Morning Britain now. Do you know what? When I'd done it, I was in the car and I turned to my mate and I went, "Shit's just got real." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He said, "We've been planning it for like 12 months." I went, "No." I said, "This is it now. The world knows about it. Can't get out of it now."
It's good though, isn't it? Now
the world knows about it.
Then
and this is kind of like the last week. It's been amazing actually. Do you know what I mean? Because it's got. I mean, we because we've not really pushed it yet as such in terms of fundraising. That's all like to come. So they put down. We've had to break down the £1 million in terms of how we're going to not earn it. What's the word?
Like
fundraising.
Yeah, they receive the donations.
Yeah.
It's on 20 grand already, isn't it? I think
25 now. Yeah. So we'd put in that we'd probably get from just giving 10 grand by the end of April, and we did that in one day.
Jesus.
And we're at 25 grand now. And again, another bit of news that I can't break yet because it's not until next week. But we've had a big donation that's going to push
teasing us with these.
Yeah. I know. Well, as soon as it comes out, I'll let you know, and then you can obviously you can tweet it and get me back on or whatever. But we'll do it.
Do you feel like a response? I've typed in Wikipedia here just because, it says here obviously 23 people died. Obviously that's including the attacker, and more than 800 wounded.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like a bit of a spearhead for those?
I do.
Like 800 because I remember. Sorry to just interrupt. I remember after it happened, the people everyone was saying that this cunt who went in there, especially because it was a kid's like.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just full of kids, and but like the disgust
that's what hurts. Yeah.
That's what hurts, and like I can imagine that there is you're there, sort of not you're not representing them as something. You could, I suppose. You
you know, I mean, even some of the deceased families, you know, say that I give them light and hope. Do you know what I mean? And that's that's a real. You know, it's pressure, but. You know, I mean, again, I won't go into what I've said, but you know, I'll do something at the top for, you know, because I know they're watching, and you know, I do feel them with me. You know, like the 22, even though I didn't know them, you know, it's I do feel like I'm not like a figure or a.
You kind of living your life for them, I guess.
Yeah, but just that, you know, life can still go on, and you can, even though this has happened. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I'm just getting on, and you know, and like I say, don't get me wrong. There are days where I don't want to be here, or you know, having a spinal cord injury. You know, it affects like your bowels, your bladder, your sexual function. You know, I was a 40-year-old man. You know what I mean? So, you know, those are the things that I'll probably never get my head around. And when I'm having a bad day, the bits when. You know, when I'm sat on the toilet for hours because I can't get anything out. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, those are the
things that people don't see, isn't it?
No, and that's what we've said about, you know, this revolution. I don't know if you saw the Frank Gardner documentary that he did just before Christmas. Amazing. And we've got a very similar. Frank Gardner's the BBC journalist,
the war journalist, wasn't he? Yeah,
and he got shot by a terrorist, spinal cord injured. So we've got very similar stories. And he wanted to give almost like a bird's eye view of what it's like in his life, and it showed him removing a stoma bag, and I think from memory it was the first time that had ever been shown on TV. And I'd got a few of my friends had messaged me going, because it's not something you talk about, and a few of my mates said, "How you got to the toilet?" I just thought you just went to the toilet as normal. And I went, no, I said. Literally, when I say I'm paralysed from the belly button down, it's everything below the belly button doesn't work. It's like bowel, bladder, you know, all of that. It doesn't work. I need machinery or science to get involved for me to do that. And if I don't do it, it's life-threatening. So that's why going up a mountain, it's because I won't be able to go to the toilet as I would do normally. So there's the risks associated with that. I've had sepsis 4 times. I've been rushed into hospital with sepsis 4 times, which is life-threatening.
So what, mate, there'll be no secrets in that team after you're spending 10 days together.
Exactly. So that's why I know a lot of them.
Choose your team wisely.
Well, no, and I have. I say we've got a good team, and it's we've got some good training days. We're going to do Snowdon, and we're going to go to Lakes. We're going to Wales. We're going to a mountain in France just to get the altitude bit in just before we go.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know, mate, when you're doing Snowdon or something. I'd love to come along with you and stuff. And I've done Snowdon, tons of times. It's good day out. And
you're on.
Yeah, I'd love to, mate. It's incredible what you do, mate. And it's refreshing as well for me. I normally see a lot of challenges, but a lot of them are amputee kind of challenges and stuff. So to see someone in a wheelchair, mate, with the injury you've got, it's
well, that's it. And obviously, I've been an able-bodied man for 40 years, and I get really pissed off when people write me off just because they see me in a wheelchair. And I think it's just a mentality that we have across the world, actually. It's a shame, innit? What's a shame? You can't do this. And it's like, well, I don't think about the things I can't do. I kind of think about the things that I can do and knock it out of the park. You know what I mean? My mentality is there's nothing that I can't do. I can do it. I might need support. I might need an adaptation. But there's nothing that I can't do. And again, that might come across as cocky or arrogant. But it's just the way that I've been built, and this is just one of those things that, people will look at it and go, he's not going to do it. And I'm like, that's what I want.
Bring it on.
I want everybody to go, you're not going to do it, because I'm like a bull to a red rag. When people speak to any of my mates, they say, like, never tell Martin he can't do something because he'll prove you wrong. And this is just one of them situations. And I'm just kind of viewing that scenery at the top and just what that will do. And I said to Ollie, one of the lads that's doing it, because I think he's a bit worried about it, and I said, just think about when we're coming down that mountain, we're going to be legends.
Mate, imagine that feeling as well, coming down as well once you've done it.
And when we're there, like I say, I didn't want it to be a case of, we turn up in Africa, we do the mountain and we come home. So we're going to do some legacy work in Africa as well. So we're going to go to a spinal unit in Africa, because having a spinal cord injury over there is like a death sentence. You're just left on the side of the road. So we're going to do, so hopefully some of that money that we raise will be some legacy work that we do in Tanzania over the next maybe 3 to 5 years, and do some training, maybe wheelchairs, and they don't even have stuff like that over there. So I'd love like, I don't just want to be the one of these that turns up and clicks a few pictures, and I really want a lasting legacy of it.
Mate, it's incredible what you. Honestly, I can't wait to watch along. It'll be fucking quality.
And it's gonna be one of the things where when you watch, if this documentary gets done, which I hope it does, it'll be a good watch. I think, you know what I mean. Just because I know what I'm like, I'll be kicking off and effing and jeffing and. So
make some good TV.
Yeah, but and especially if this person does it that they want, then to do it with that person would be amazing. And once you do something like that, it's set in stone, isn't it? You've always got it's like a bit like a book, in it. It'll always be there.
Yeah,
which would be obviously if you do it, you obviously you can take pictures and stuff, but actually having it recorded on a video, like when I'm 60 and I'll be able to watch it back. Oh, bloody hell, I've had a good life,
Definitely, mate.
You know what I mean,
mate? One thing this podcast has done for me, mate. I don't mean this disrespectfully. Is obviously, I'd pretty much forgotten about the Manchester Arena bombing, just because we all get on with our lives, don't we?
Yeah, of course.
And people like yourself, obviously, and 800, and obviously the 22 people that died, have just got to. It's mad, mate, that people, there's so many children, your daughter having to live with this now, how many, 5 years on, is it 4 years?
4 years. 4 years in May.
4 years in May. And what you're doing now, mate, honestly, it's really, really inspiring.
Cheers,
it really is.
Thank you.
We should be paying you for this conversation.
It's the sad thing about life, isn't it, though? Like, as horrendous as things are, life goes on, doesn't it?
Well, no, it does. And
the fact that you're able to still speak about it and remind people of the sacrifice and what you're doing, it's even more inspiring.
It's always going to be part of my life. And funny that you should say that, because it's like when the trial started, which was kind of last January. People saying, I thought it had all been done. I thought they'd been charged, and you know what I mean. It's sad in a way, but you know what I mean. It's life does go on, and it's right that it does. I do. The one thing that does remind me is the bees that you see around. And that even on people's cars, like they have stickers, don't they? And that's the one thing that. Yeah, we have a big thing like the 22nd of May is always a big, like the first year. We got invited to the service when Prince William came, and we did all that, and then the second year it was just too much. So it was the first time I went. We haven't even talked about that today either. Me going to Australia and doing all the neurophysics and stuff, moving my legs and standing up and doing all that. We'll have to do another one.
Part 2 after Kilimanjaro.
Meeting Chris Hemsworth. Like Chris Hemsworth read my story and invited me to his house and had a coffee with him, and he's like one of my mates now. It's just crazy. But no, it's like I say, it's if I could turn back time, of course I would. It's not been invented yet, so you've got to make the most of what you've been given, and I'm still here. So I can make a difference, and that's what I choose to do. I choose to make a difference and inspire and motivate and educate. And that, when I say that, I get a warm feeling, and that's why I survived, because I can do it. Maybe I'm the person to do that, to change the world forever.
Mate,
what a way to end. What a line.
Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate your time.
No problem.
So, just so people listening, watching, all that jazz, is there anywhere we can point them at the moment?
Yeah,
like your Twitter or a page?
I'm on social media. One thing that I do, and obviously I'll shout it out on air. When I do my motivational talk, I'm a big thing of talking about, especially in men, mental health. So if this story resonates and they want to get in touch, they can get in touch with me personally on Twitter. and we'll have a Zoom call. I think that's something that I'm really passionate about, talking about mental health and getting it out there, especially in men. Got to talk about it more.
Definitely, mate.
You know, the stigma when I had depression back in 2014, I didn't want to tell my boss because I thought I was going to lose my job. You know, thankfully we've come a long way since then. There's still a long way to go, especially in men. You know, we've got to talk about how we're feeling, and if we're not feeling good, it's all right. You know what I mean? Just let your mate know. So contact me on Twitter at Martin Hibbert. And they can contact me on there. They can follow the story on there. If they
just give a link on there as well.
There's a link in my bio. So we've got a Martin's Mountain page. There's a fundraising page. So if anybody wants to donate, they can do. There's a Just Giving site. They can type in Martin's Mountain, or they can donate £10 by texting SIA10 to 70085, and that'd be amazing. And if anybody wants to support, join in the journey, help.
Me and Tom will be uploading with you.
Or just follow. You know, the more the merrier. Like I say, I've started a revolution, and to do that, you need people following you and behind you, supporting you. Definitely. So that's what I need now. I need troops.
Call for troops. Yeah. Thank you so much, mate.
No problem.
Really,
Thanks for having me on.
This.
Really honoured to be on.
Cheers, pal.
No problem.